and plan is for them to remain muted, but you'll definitely have an opportunity to ask us questions. Just raise your hand or send a question through the chat, as Belita is also monitoring that chat for me. And like I said, you'll be able to ask some questions for us or to us throughout the presentation. So just to give you a quick overview of what I intend to review with you today, we'll talk about how to apply, meaning where do I go on the Children's Trust website? How do I get to the documentation? Hopefully you all have found it by now because you found us. You figured out how to get registered for this bidders conference. We'll talk a little bit about the purpose of the invitation to negotiate, what the minimum requirements to bid are, term of service, and we'll talk a little bit about the solicitation timeline as well. We'll go through the scope of services and highlight budget. We'll take a quick look at the evaluation criteria, and we'll mention, how these responses or how the responses to the RFP will be reviewed, and then open the floor for question and answer. So this is a screenshot of our website, and it has our address. And so you access the RFP by going directly to the Children's Trust of Alachua County website. Oops, let me go back. Let's see if I can go back for a second. There we go. And that section that if there's a button to the bottom right to your screen, hopefully it's the bottom right for yours, it says bids and RFPs. And when you select bids and RFPs, it takes you to this. And currently we only have one RFP open. And so this is what you should see. Or I should say one funding opportunity, because this funding opportunity is an invitation to negotiate. From this page on our website, you can click on any of the links to your right. It'll take you directly to all the forms. It'll take you directly to the RFP, or you can open the entire solicitation. And you do that by clicking on, can you see when I move my mouse around, can they see that? Perfect. So you click on this section here and it'll open up the full RF or ITN page. On that full ITN page is where you would find links to join the email listserv for this ITN. You'll find a link to submit questions for the ITN, because remember, when we release a funding opportunity, we are immediately up under the cone of silence. The staff are, the board members are, and we cannot talk to anyone about their content of or their idea, or does this fall within the RFP or ITN. And so we create a link for you all to submit questions directly to us, because on Wednesdays, and I believe the 9th is the last, maybe the 7th is the last day to submit a question. And if that is incorrect, Belita will correct me in a few minutes as she looks that up, excuse me. The only time potential applicants can ask us questions regarding this ITN is now. So that is why this bidders conference is going to be so important, because this is the only opportunity that you can actually have a conversation with us about this. Other than that, you will have to submit questions using that link. And then we submit all questions and answers. We post those on our website every Wednesday. So thus far, we have received one question about the ITN, and it is posted, as you can see here at the bottom where it says Addendum 1. That is, every time we post questions, it will be a new addendum, Addendum 1, Addendum 2, and that is how you review any questions and answers that we have received.
Christy?
Yes.
March 7th is the last day to submit questions.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, I'm going to go to the next slide. So this is the timeline for this ITN. You see here it has all the links for the bidders conference. This invitation to negotiate was released Friday, February 18th. Today we're having our bidders conference, as Galita just confirmed. The last day to submit any questions via the link on the bid page is Monday, March 7th. We are also offering technical assistance office hours. So anyone that has questions about documentation. This is not an opportunity to discuss the content or your proposal. It is to ensure that you have access to all the correct forms and that you are submitting accurate forms as it relates to this ITN. And the way you would request an appointment for technical assistance is by emailing us at the procurement at childrenstrustof-county.us. We will post the final questions and answers to our website on Wednesday, March 9th. The submission deadline for this ITN is Friday, March 18th, 2022 at 3 p.m. because I do see a typo there. So March 18th, that's a Friday at 3 p.m. The application review period will be from March 19th through March 25th. And we'll have a public evaluation of applications on April 4th. And then, as always, we'll submit our recommendations to the board via our board packet that will, the funding recommendations on April 4th, and the board meeting is April 11th. We intend to start contracts for the enrichment ITN on May 1st. So now we'll go over, talk a little bit more about the funding overview. We'll talk about funding, budget, the purpose. We'll go through all that information. So the purpose of this invitation to negotiate is to support enrichment providers in the development and implementation of a capacity building plan that focuses on increasing program access, your quality, and organizational readiness for CTAC funding in the future. The total funding available for this ITN is $120,000. That's the total amount that the board has approved for this ITN, and it'll cover direct and indirect costs incurred. And the terms of these contracts will be May 1st through September 30. The minimum requirements to bid are the provider must be currently qualified to conduct business in the state of Florida. The provider cannot be an Alachua County public school or a charter school approved by any public school system in the state of Florida. And the provider must be an enrichment provider, must be a provider that offers push-in or add-in services to out-of-school time providers in Alachua County. That is what an enrichment provider is. It is one who partners with an eligible site to offer enrichment activities. This provider should facilitate these activities that offer youth the opportunity to learn and explore specialty activities such as STEM, fitness, arts. Those are just examples that would not otherwise be available, because that's the key, that would not otherwise be available through their out-of-school time programming. And the activities to children must be provided to children that reside in Alachua County and through in grades K through 12. I want to stop here just for a second to just reiterate that this pot of funding is not for any after-school sites. It is not for any after or summer camp sites, because those individuals have already been awarded funding for capacity building that funding opportunity was released several months ago. And so that is not what this pot of money is for. This is specifically for those enrichment providers. So when we think about the scope of service, and we have had a couple different presentations regarding this pot of money. And so if you were on our input session, if you have been participating in any of our board meetings, all of this should sound familiar. If you are a part of our collaborative, all of this should sound very familiar to you. So with the scope of services and utilizing the standards provided by the Florida After School Network, providers will complete a capacity building plan. And the standards will provide a framework for the development of a caring, dynamic, stimulating, and safe environment for children and youth. The intent of the capacity building plan is to support organizations' ability to implement programming. It's not for you to create programming, it is to support your ability and your capacity to implement future programming that serves children with creative and enriching activities. The capacity building plan includes the following categories: administration and organization, program management and staff, communication and interaction, program structure and activities, health, safety and nutrition, program environment, family and community involvement, and system building. Providers will also complete a self-assessment of their current organizational capacity and identify and prioritize a minimum of 4 standards to focus on their capacity building their capacity building goals and deliverables. Each selected element will include a program goal that will follow a SMART goal format, which is specific, which is simple. I won't read all of that. So with SMART, it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And we also, if you're a part of the collaborative, and if you're following the work that is being done with the collaborative, we had a training specifically related to creating SMART goals for capacity building funding. Within the RFP or the ITN, and hopefully you all have been able to review the invitation to negotiate prior to this bidders conference. This is a snapshot of the deliverables and the timeline for the contract starting May 1st and then again ending September 30th. And as you'll see there, you would have to have an approved capacity building plan and assessment. You'll have monthly progress reports and invoices, as well as an end of the program narrative and post-assessment detailing how things have worked with your capacity building plan and assessment. Let's talk a little bit about the budget, what that looks like, what it means for you all. We'll talk more about what funding, or if there are any restrictions to the funding. So providers will be awarded capacity building funding to support the successful implementation of their plans. And we have 2 different categories. We have indirect planning, and then we have direct costs. So for indirect planning, programs will be awarded capacity building funds based on program revenue from their previous year. If the program's revenue is over $75,000, indirect planning funding will be capped at $10,000. If revenue is under $75,000, indirect planning funding will be $5,000. Providers will be compensated upon completion of a deliverable that is identified within their capacity building plan. So you get to determine what you will identify areas based on a completed assessment. You will create a goal, and then based on your goals and deliverables of the goals that you set and you create for your own organization, that is how you will be compensated for indirect planning. For direct costs, programs will be awarded direct costs to support the implementation of specific activities associated with their direct cost requests. The trust will pay for all reasonable costs, but they must be estimated at the time of contracting and approved in advance by the contract manager. Examples of direct costs include any cost to obtain background checks, membership fees, trainings, classes, those are, et cetera. Those are examples. Providers will be compensated for direct costs on a cost reimbursement basis. So the funding for direct costs, again, is cost reimbursement. And you would have to have the appropriate documentation as well for that reimbursement for those direct costs. Providers can also receive an initial advance of 25% of their direct costs if they are interested in that. But also remember, reimbursements must be trued up before additional payments are made, and any payments in excess of the trued up value will need to be returned to the trust at the conclusion of the contract. So here I can talk a little bit about eligible funding usage and funding restriction. So funding can be used for eligible expenses as I have listed here below on this slide. And so to repeat a little bit of what I already stated, any costs, tasks, or activities related to background screenings, memberships, trainings, and classes. Also, the funding is eligible to purchase supplies and materials needed to improve safety and wellness or program activities, to account for staff time spent planning, developing, and completing strategies, and software and technology items that do not individually cost over $1,000. Funding cannot be used for the following purposes, and that's to purchase of capital equipment, and capital equipment represents individual items purchased at a cost of $1,000 or more with a life expectancy of more than a year. Revenue replacements is restricted, or revenue losses experienced during the contract period, and funding cannot be used to duplicate any expenses already covered in any of your already grants, whether they're from CTAC or not, but it cannot be used to duplicate any expenses that you're already billing another funder for. And funding cannot be used for real property. This is the evaluation criteria that you will find in the invitation to negotiate. We'll be looking at the organizational eligibility as well as your capacity building plan. And when reviewing, a review team that could consist of trust staff or any volunteers identified throughout our community, they'll look at the following items that you see here on the slide. Did the applicant clearly meet all the minimum requirements to bid? So that's going to go back to what I mentioned earlier about, are you an enrichment provider? Are you a public school or a charter school that falls under the jurisdiction of public schools in the state of Florida? Are you qualified to conduct business in the state of Florida? So that is what they will be looking at when providing you with a score of 1 or 0 under organizational eligibility. They'll also look at the capacity building plan. Did the applicant submit all the forms, and was the application completed satisfactory? And that would be the capacity building plan as well as the budget. And if you score 2 or more, or at least 2 points, then we go to the board and recommend you for funding. And what the board does is gives us the authorization to negotiate a contract. The board is not necessarily approving the amount that you asked for, they are giving staff the authority to come back and to negotiate contracts and negotiate amounts if needed. On this slide, you'll find your submission checklist, and I did take this directly from the invitation to negotiate. And so it is there for you. You should complete and submit Form 1, which is your prospective contractor certification. Form 2, organizational information. Form 3, the capacity building self-assessment tool. And Form 4, the capacity building plan and budget. Again, all of these items are found on the website, on the bid page that I showed you earlier when we opened up the website. Additional documents required for submission: proof of corporate status and legal address, which is from Sunbiz. Proof of enrichment program revenue from the most recent fiscal year, such as tax documents, IRS 990, any audited financial statements, balance sheet, your philanthropy hub profile. Those are examples of what you could submit as proof of your program revenue. We're not asking for all of those. We're asking for at least one of those that shows your revenue. And a copy of your IRS 501c determination letter. And I'll stop here. I'll stop sharing my slides to take any questions that you all may have in this moment. Are there any questions? You're muted. Belita, you are muted.
I am muted. I'm going to allow Ms. Natil to ask her question if she can unmute herself.
Yes, my question is, I want to make sure I'm not on the second half of something. So is this the beginning of the actual funding for the capacity, or was there another section before this?
So there have been two. This is the second release of capacity building funding. The first release was for actual sites where children go for summer camp and after school camp. That original or initial invitation to negotiate was to assist sites with their organizational structure and their capacity in preparing them for summer funding. So yes, you are right. This is the second half of this funding. So we initially funded the sites where kiddos go for after school and summer camp, and now we are providing this funding for enrichment providers. So using that definition provided earlier.
What is an example of an enrichment provider? Like, so I know it's not for the schools and it's not for after school and summer camp. What would be something you could utilize it for, I guess, is my question.
Can you, I'm sorry, can you repeat your question? I'll turn them on.
What is something you could utilize it for? Because I know we're not doing it for like schools. I know it's like for programs, like if you're trying to maybe do like a STEM or fitness, but would that be like after, it couldn't be like after school? How would that have to work? I'm just saying, what would it need to look like?
So earlier, when I talked about funding usage, give me a second while I go through my slide to get back to that page. And to clarify, this is to assist with your organization. It's like professional development for your organization. It is not funding to create a program. It is not for that. It is professional development. It is ensuring that your staff have the necessary training to be able to work with other sites to provide enrichment services. And so some of the things that you could use this funding is ensuring accurate background screening, because background screening through DCF Clearinghouse can be, pretty expensive, especially if it's someone who's not already in their system. It could be $80 to $90, $5 per person. So it could be used for background screening. It could be used for memberships. So if there are training, that you are interested in yourself or your staff participating in, or if you are a local organization and you want to be a part of, let's say, our community foundation or the Center for Nonprofit Excellence, but there's a membership cost, our capacity building dollars could be used for that. Does that answer your question?
Yes. I was just trying to figure it all out, but okay, that does answer the question. Thank you.
Okay, so I am going to read, I have Ms. Gay has about 3 questions, so I'm going to read them to you one at a time. The first one is there a list of eligible sites? I'm not.
Ms. Gay, you can take yourself off of mute to explain your question. If she's able to, is she able to?
Good morning.
Hello.
Thank you all for the training conference. So I just wanted to ask, is there a list of eligible sites that has already been determined, like we can go and click on it and get all the list, or how do we determine if the site has already been considered eligible?
So this funding doesn't necessarily have anything to do with other sites. It's all about your organization and what you do for your organization with this pot of money. I almost think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Gay, I almost think you might be thinking about the summer enrichment RFP.
I was thinking that this was something similar to that. So this is for your particular program to get services to develop your own staff.
Yes, this is funding that you can use for professional development for your organization, you and your staff. That is correct.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay.
Okay. Did you have other questions that you wanted me to answer?
I think you mentioned something about there was a prior training. So did we have to already attend that training to be considered an eligible site, or just applying now makes you go through the process of being eligible?
If you look at those minimum requirements to bid, we're not making you be a member of the collaborative. All enrichment providers, as long as they meet the minimum requirements, are eligible.
And so my other question was, I'm sorry, you kind of breaking up.
Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry, it might be my internet connection. You guys cannot hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
It's going in and out. It's going in and out sometimes. So if we freeze, that's what's up.
Okay, just let me know. I can repeat whatever I need to repeat. It's the office. It's not me.
Okay.
This is the world we live in now.
So what I understood was that you were saying that just more so long as you meet the requirements, this is helping you go through the process now to get that funding to develop your staff. Yes. And then the other question is indirect planning payment. Is that payment for just planning this here program? And then it looks like it's more that comes, I guess, for the actual services that we receive.
Yes, so there's your indirect planning, and then there are direct costs.
Okay.
That's good. That was good enough. That answers your question?
Yes, that's good enough. That's good enough. And so I did see where it's like if you have a 501c3, but you can also apply if you're a nonprofit. But if you haven't filed taxes for last year already, do you provide the balance, the financials or whatever?
You need to. you need to be able to provide some sort of financial document. And on that last slide on the checklist, the submission checklist, I give a few different examples of what those documents could be.
Okay, I did see that.
Okay, and that is in the invitation to negotiate. I took that directly from that.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I don't want to hold up more of your time. Okay.
No problem.
Okay, Christy, we have 2 questions from New Tech, and it says, where do we add technology in the budget?
Where do we add? Janelyn, unmute yourself, or Joyce. I'm not sure if it's Janelyn or Joyce from New Tech now.
It's
I see
me,
your-
it's Janelyn.
Oh, okay.
Good morning. Thanks for taking our calls, our questions. I started the process and I've gone through pretty much the whole thing and filled everything out. So I understand how it works. But we were wanting to apply to get funding just to have another license for QuickBooks. But I don't see where I add things like that, where I know you have a technology is acceptable, but it has the drop downs that go into the different categories of things for the direct cost, but I don't see where I can add something that's not a drop in your drop down.
It should be under direct cost is where it should be. Generally,
I have, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say you might want to schedule some time to come in for the technical assistance so that we can look at that with you.
Okay, I can do that.
Especially since I can't see it not right this moment.
Okay, I can do that.
Is that okay?
Yep, that'll be fine.
Okay.
Because I'll have figured out everything by then, and then I can just ask all my questions at once. So
Okay.
that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Culture Arts, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, hello. This is Carol Mosley.
Hey, Carol.
Hi, our programs are after school program and the summer camp program, which I'm pretty sure are enrichment programs. And so am I correct that this would be to build the capacity or ability to do those programs more efficiently? And is that the goal of this? So we were thinking of hiring, adding on some time for part-time staff to do some grant writing and to perhaps conduct a smart workshop for the board of directors to be doing more fundraising. Would that kind of thing be appropriate?
So Carol, your Cultural Arts Coalition is, it falls under 2 different categories because you have the science bus. That part of Cultural Arts Coalition is the enrichment part. Your summer camps and your after school sites are not necessarily eligible for this pot of money. It is the enrichment portion. It is your science bus program that goes to other organizations with your science bus. So that is what you will need to keep in mind as you are applying for these dollars. And I think that's a great thing. You know, we have a couple different organizations throughout the county that fall under both categories. I can think of a couple other ones, but that is what you need to keep in mind as you are preparing your direct costs and your indirect planning to ensure that when you submit your application that you are talking about the part of your organization that provides enrichment services to other organizations, not your site.
Okay, and so if we want to increase the time of part-time staff during this period of the grant operating, to write grants to get funding for the science bus program, that would be considered appropriate?
Only if the time is used for quality and professional development improvement of your organization.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask a quick question?
Can we hold on 1 second? Because Joyce's hand has been up for a long time, and I just want to acknowledge that, if you don't mind.
Thanks,
Joy?
Christy. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for all this help. Just a couple of questions, because you know we have that continuing funding, and we're trying not to overlap here or anything. And because we have been overwhelmed with requests, we are going to have to build capacity. So the things that when you first said in the beginning, the funding, and you said if you're over 75,000, it's 10,000. If it's under 75, it's a different amount, and that's indirect cost. And then you said that you were going to reimburse the direct cost. So it's the 10,000 plus the direct cost, or it's just a maximum of 10,000?
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to go back to it so I can read it directly. So indirect costs, if your program revenue is over $75,000, you would be capped at $10,000.
Right.
If it is below, it's $5,000.
Right.
Those are separate from direct costs.
Okay, so you could get that plus whatever your direct costs are. You could budget that. Is that correct?
That is
Okay,
correct.
and then because we have a lot of insurance, as you know, we couldn't get the E&O, but we still have van insurance, a liability insurance, and then we're going to have employees that we're going to have to increase our insurance. Could we in this apply for insurance as a part of the capacity building?
You can apply for insurance as long as you are not
Double dipping.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Christy, before Ms. Natil asks her question, John has a question, and Tyler, do you have a question? Did I see? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so Mr. Rollins, you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you can.
You hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So good morning, everyone. My question was regarding staff training and then covering that in the budget. If I am going to get my staff ready to go out and deliver our programs, I understand that's a part of the capacity building. And I wanted to include in the budget a repayment for that. Am I using a minimum wage? Am I using a projected wage? Is there a preset amount that I should write in the budget for reimbursement under the indirect costs?
I think, John, you would need to determine the best amount that would be and it also depends if that's going to fall under a direct cost or a indirect planning cost. Where are you planning to put that?
My understanding from what I think I saw is that would fall under the planning, indirect cost, planning, staff development. And so what I've envisioned is that we're going to hire more people, and then we want to train them to become proficient in delivering our program. And we want to pay them for that time while they're training. But as I'm writing the budget, is there a preset amount that the Children's Trust will approve? Or is that something that we negotiate? Because what I value their time and what CTAC may attribute their value to may be different.
Right, it would definitely be different. So if it falls under indirect planning, there's just an amount we're going to give you, and how you use that is how you use it. So for an example, under indirect planning, and if your organization revenue is less than less than $75,000, you're just getting $5,000. And how you are provided those dollars is based on a certain number of your deliverables. So if you have 2 deliverables and you have $5,000, want to achieve, if that is strictly training. I'm getting a message about my internet. Can you guys still hear me?
Okay, now you're unfrozen. You froze for a minute. So if
Okay.
you can go back and kind of.
So if you have 2 deliverables and you received a total of $5,000 because your revenue was under 75,000, then those two, that $5,000 would be split between those 2 deliverables. So, you know, $2,500 each. So you wouldn't need to give me any documentation, any budget for how you are using that money other than the deliverable that the training took place, other than evidence that the deliverable was met.
Okay, I follow. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Hill. Okay. Ms. Natil, you can unmute yourself if you're able to. Okay, Christy, I will message her.
Okay. Eric's hand. Eric, do you want to take yourself off mute?
Sure. Good morning. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Belita. It was a really, really helpful presentation this morning. So my question is that we're an organization, River Phoenix Center for Peace Building, that offers direct services to youth, but we also offer training services to youth providers. And so I'm wondering if these funds could be appropriately used to increase our capacity, not necessarily to deliver youth programs, but to deliver youth provider trainings.
So if you are proposing to train providers, then the funding cannot be used for that. However, it can be used, for an example, if you have trainers and you want to send your trainers to a different training that's going to prepare you all to provide more professional development to out-of-school time providers, you can do that. That you can do, but you can't submit a proposal for this pot of money to train those other individuals. But you can do any type of professional development for your trainers in preparation for what you all plan to do in the future with individuals working directly with the youth.
Christy, that answers my question. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Natil, if you would like to try it again, we can try it again.
Okay, yes, well, I have a lot of amazing ideas. I have a school, but I also have a pre-K as well. And we do offer the Head Start program. So I'm just trying to figure out, we're looking to do a lot in the community as far as with children, tutoring students and things like that, just getting them additional help and providing other types of things that they would need in a community. I'm trying to figure out what I can do, how I can utilize these funds to advance some of the things that we want to do, like teaching, like doing sciences, STEM programs, just a bunch of things. How do I go about it?
So what you could keep in mind is, as you are creating your your plan or your approach to implementing your program that you want to do throughout the community for children, look at some of those things that you need for the staff that would be providing a service to the children. Because that is what this is. And I don't know what your program idea is. I don't know, you know, if you're gonna have a mentoring program and you want to provide different sessions in the community to after-school programs and summer camps. But your staff need to be background screened, or they need a mentoring training to prepare them for this. What was his name? Eric offers trainings. We can't pay Eric to provide the trainings, but we can pay you to go to his trainings. You see where I'm going here?
Right.
That is what you need to be thinking about.
So basically determining what exactly it is that I want to provide, like determine what it is that the enrichment that I want to provide, and then use the funding to help build the capacity for it, like the staff and like background screening, just different things that you may need, like software and things to get it really going.
Gotcha. That's accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Christy, Tyler has a question.
Oh, you're muted.
There we go. So obviously background screening is a big part of what we do. With background screening for our trained staff, obviously it can be utilized for that. What about for background screening for our volunteers, for our volunteer mentors? Would it be able to utilize as well to cover those costs? Obviously they're not staff, but they're still active participants in our programs. So it'd be able to be utilized for all those things as well, correct?
That is accurate. That what DCF requires is if an individual is with a child for more than 10 hours a month, that they too need to go through the clearinghouse screening. And as long as an organization meets the other requirements, then yes, they should make a proposal for that.
All right, thank you very much. That answers my question.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So I have a question from Mr. Rollins, and it says, what plans are there to sustain providers beyond September, because the contract ends in September?
So there are currently the funding opportunity for enrichment providers beyond capacity building that would sustain them beyond September is those that are funded through our summer enrichment dollars. That is the current funding opportunity that we think will be able to continue to release in the community that will sustain them through September.
Quick question, can if you weren't able to apply for that, then will it come up to where you can apply for it?
Our intention is to release it again next summer. If you were unable this summer, it wouldn't be released again until next summer.
Okay.
I don't think I see any more hands. I don't think I missed any questions in the chat. So if I did, please let me know and go ahead and unmute yourself, but I think I got them all.
Okay. I appreciate everybody attending this. This was really good discussion. Don't forget that the submission deadline is Friday the 18th at 3 p.m. You have until March 7th to continue to submit questions on the website. So you go to the invitation to negotiation bid page, on our website, and that is where you will find a link that says question and answer. We check those every Tuesday to prepare to post on Wednesdays. And so the 7th, it will be here before you know it. We are still in a cone of silence. So that means I cannot take a call and discuss the ITN with you. So if anyone calls, we're basically directing you back to the page, especially after this bidders conference. Tyler, you took yourself off of mute. Do you have a question?
I do. I'm just learning to navigate the website a little bit. So if I want to find that tab, I was trying to do it as you were giving me the instructions verbally. I was trying to follow the steps to get to that question and answer part of the website.
Okay. Tell me where you are right now. What do you see?
I'm under the programs tab where the ITN page first comes up.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Okay, question and answer. Looks like this may be where I'm looking here. So question and answers, and then I have an event, certain events. Is there a link there that I need to follow?
Did you click?
Okay.
You got it? Did you
Yep,
click
there it
on
is.
question and answer? Okay. Right.
Yeah, so it looks like procurement, that's the email we want to utilize in order to answer those questions. Is that correct?
There is an actual web form, Tyler. So where you say question and answer, there's like a blue link above the table.
There it is. Okay, that's it. All right, I had my screen zoomed in. I got it. Okay, yep. I see. Looks like what is the question? Email optional. What section? That's what you're referencing there. Okay.
That is it. And I'm going to share my screen real quick just so that other folks can see what that looks like. Since we still have a couple. Let's see if I can do it.
I can do mine real quick if you want.
Do you guys see the website?
Yep, there we go.
Okay. So there, whoa, that's a little too fast. Here, that is where you click. And this is the web form. And you put the question here, and then your email is optional. You can let us know what section of the RFP you have a question about, what page, and you hit submit, and we get a notification that there has been a question asked.
Great.
That is how you submit a question. And then this timeline, this email, if you want to schedule technical assistance, that is the email that will be sent to us. If you have any issues with that email or a day has gone by and no one has responded, give us a call. We'll do that. You can call us about that. If you're not getting a response, please call us about that. This is the link that'll be used to attend the public evaluation of applications. And then you can access all the documents here as well.
Christy, I'm sorry. I know that we put the recording on the website. What about the PowerPoint? Will we send it individually at request, or will you put that on the website as well?
I'll put that on the website as well. And what I'll do is I'll put it right below the question and answer link so that it's easy to find. I'll put it there again. I'll put it right below. If you guys see my screen again, I'll put it right below here. So it'll say questions, business conference, recording, and then business conference PowerPoint. So it'll all be right here in this section.
And I think Mr. Rollins also has his hand up.
Okay, Mr. Rollins.
I think you answered this earlier, but I just want to ask for my sanity. Are we required to attend the group trainings or community trainings that were originally a part of the capacity building process?
That collaborative? No. Initially, it was a part of that first ITN. I took it out of this one. So no, I believe it. I don't even think we asked them about collaborative. I took it out.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I thought you said that, but I just want to confirm. Thank you.
You're welcome. And lastly, before I end the meeting, I wanted to go back through the minimum qualifications. And those are the provider must be currently qualified to conduct business in the state of Florida, and we'll be looking for you to submit your SunBiz or identify, we'll be looking for your SunBiz basically. You cannot be a public school, and you cannot be a charter school approved by any public school system in the state of Florida, and you must be an enrichment provider. You cannot be a site where kiddos go. It must be a provider that goes to other sites to provide enrichment activities. Because we have already released the funding opportunity and funded those individuals that are actual sites. If kiddos come to you, unless you fall under two different organizations, if kiddos come to you, then that funding was already released and funded. All right, that is it. Unless anybody has any last minute questions, submit your questions through the link, schedule some time with us for technical assistance. And we appreciate, you guys participating. We appreciate hearing back from you all. And we're excited to see what is submitted on the 18th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you and blessings to everyone. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, that's Dion. I was like, one more person. Dion, turn your camera on.
One more person.
Oh, Bleeder, stop recording.